greet you all. Welcome. This is the first session for this Friday morning. I trust you have a very enjoyable free evening and that you really enjoyed the hospitality of Cape Town. I'm happy to see you all. Today's session is called the AIDS Navigation, a Global Approach, the focus on Africa. And of course, being in South Africa and Africa, we have to focus on Africa. But before we start, there's a number of house administrative announcements, so I'll just call Kiro up to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just for your matter of interest for delegates attending the session, there will be 2 sessions that will be presented in French. For those of you that haven't got your translator headsets, you can go now while I'm giving the house rules for the day. Thank you. One thing I report back of the so-called soccer event that was held yesterday. Amount of 6,600 Rand was gathered through the event, through various sponsorships as well as delegates participating in the event. This money will be handed over to an underprivileged school during tea break in the IMC exhibition. For those of you who don't know as well, that the IMC as well has been matched the pot of what was gathered through the event yesterday. So I think there's quite a substantial amount of money that is going to be handed over through the IMC as well. Secondly, for tomorrow evening's function, the formal closing dinner, you need to register or pick up invitations at the registration desk. This invitation will have your name as well as those that have accompanying persons with you will have their names too. There's going to be strict access control at the venue, so you need to have your invitation with you. There's also a lucky draw prize, so you need to bring your invitation with you, and we'll draw it out of a hat, the prize. As far as the exhibition is concerned, the breakdown is today at 12. So though if you've got any burning questions to speak to the IMC members, you'll have opportunity during tea break, but at 12 o'clock they will be breaking down the exhibition. Please, also for the General Assembly tomorrow, the head of delegation is please requested to also attend tomorrow's session, as well as you'll need to register yourself. Registration desk will be at the foyer on top tomorrow morning too. So you can just pick up your voting card there. That's all, except that please, at the end of today, please hand in your headsets. We lost quite a few in the process of the week, but I'm sure we'll get all back by the end of the conference. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hope you have a good session. Thank you.
Thank you, Kiro. And just to finalize the announcements, could Jerry Bryan, James Crawford, Jens Froest, and Vincent Gugino, if they can just present their presentations to the AV team in the speaker preparation room as soon as possible, please. Jerry Bryan, James Crawford, Jens Froest, and Vincent Gugino. Thank you very much. The intention of this session is to focus on Africa, and hopefully we will have suitable conclusions and recommendations that could lead to the improvement of safety of navigation on the continent. We have a wide variety of topics being presented today, but before we start, I just wanted to give you some feedback as to the situation in Africa from an AIDS navigation perspective. During the first African Union Maritime Conference that was held in February 2002 in Nigeria, the concern was expressed in a ministerial declaration at the end of the conference on the lack of and or poorly maintained AIDS navigation and modern hydrographic surveys, up-to-date nautical charts and maritime safety information in a number of African countries. At this conference it was also reported that of the 35 African maritime nations, 94% are signatory to the IMO SOLAS Convention. 37 are IALA members, and then following a survey prior to the AU conference, The results indicated that 35% of the countries in Africa meet IALA availability percentage, of which 29 countries are IALA members. 65% of the signatories to SOLAS do not meet the IALA availability figures, and thus do not meet the obligations in terms of SOLAS. Of the 13 IALA members in Africa, only 2 African countries have completed the annual IALA questionnaire. And from the information at hand, only 1 African country had undergone the voluntary audit scheme from IMO. And then lastly, last year the IMO Maritime Safety Committee agreed to put the safety of navigation in Africa on the priority action list of technical cooperation. So this is just a start. Our first speaker this morning is Jim Scorer. Commodore Jim Scorer started his professional career in 1973 when he joined the Britannia Royal Naval College. In his years as a junior officer, he served in most classes of ships, spending the first 20 years of his service at sea and commanded 2 warships. Latterly, as a captain, he served in NATO, then at the United Kingdom's Permanent Joint Headquarters. On promotion to Commodore, he joined the Development Concepts and Doctrine Center at Sheringham as the Director of Joint Military Concepts. Jim retired early from the Royal Navy, and in 2007 he took up the position of Director of Operations at Trinity House, where he is now responsible for the availability of all the ice navigation on the coast of England, Wales, the Channel Islands and Gibraltar. He was selected to become an elder brother on the corporation of Trinity House the same year. And the title of Jim's presentation is Global Warming, Challenges and Opportunities. Thank you, Jim.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm giving this presentation on behalf of my Head of Maintenance, Mr. Simon Milliard, who sadly is not able to be here today. The information that I will give you today on global warming has been gathered and researched by us. We are well aware that it is data which is challenged by some. However, I put it to you that we are better to be informed and prepared than to take the view that this is all a hoax and that sea levels are not going to rise after all. For the next 13 minutes, I will very briefly explore the evidence behind global warming, what impact I believe it will have on us, and finally, what we can do to protect our aids to navigation in this changing environment. At the very least, it might provide you with thoughts for the future. Some of these topics will have no impact on some of you. For example, the lighthouses around South Africa are mainly built up high on cliffs. But some of us have an estate of aids to navigation perilously close to sea level. And what is more, with many square miles of low-lying land and sandbanks that move during every storm. There is much debate about the impact of climate change, and we have tried to wade through the various reports and come to a realistic conclusion about what is ahead of us. The main sources of data are from what we regard as informed sources, and by their very nature are rather conservative in order to avoid them being discredited for scaremongering. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change is the leading body for the assessment of climate change and established by the United Nations Environment Programme and the World Meteorological Organization. The International Seakeepers Society is an organization of international leaders which promotes synergy among citizens, governments, educational institutions and corporations to restore and protect the world's oceans. And the UK Government Stern Report, published in 2006, was led by Lord Stern, the then head of the UK Government Economic Service and former World Bank chief economist. It was the most comprehensive review ever carried out on the economics of climate change. And lastly, the UK Meteorological Office. The world is getting warmer. This slide, sourced from the IPCC, shows the annual mean temperature from 1860. Compare the whole graph to the average temperature baseline from 1961 to 1990. and in particular,